fellow snows, hoes, ugly blokes, and millennial jokes, and welcome to the Bastards of Gaming podcast, episode number 7. I'm your host with the most, Xizor, joined by my co-host, the maple syrup to my French toast, the agent that has my back in the dark zone, SynthR.
So I'm going to give a shout out to my friends Aaron Randall, Steve Marquis, and Craig Wheeler. I hung out with them on the weekend, and we projected the Nintendo 64 on his 100-inch projector on the wall. And basically we all had like our own TV-sized portion of that to play like Mario Kart, GoldenEye, WCW versus NWO, Revenge, a whole bunch of other stuff.
Oh my god, that sounds pretty fun. Yeah, because at that point, the screen size wouldn't matter really, because you have like basically, like you said, a TV size screen to yourself.
Yeah, it's blurry, and like of course it's not going to translate too well because it's a Nintendo 64 game, but it didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like it always looks like that. It kind of looks shitty, but it on the screen and playing GoldenEye and stuff is pretty awesome.
Yeah, so how does GoldenEye hold up? Because I remember playing it back in the day, and it's been a long time since I played it myself too, but the controls were really weird for that. That was before sort of modern standardized first-person controls in a shooter for consoles. They're
still pretty bad. Like, whenever you go back to that game, you don't bother aiming. You just hope auto-aim hits the person. Because you can sort of look up and down while you're running, and then it has like free aim, but free aim is impossible because you stop dead in your tracks and you kind of have to aim around, and like auto aim will beat you every day. So why even bother aiming? You just shoot in the general direction of the person and hope you don't have like the clob, because the clob literally shoots like everywhere but the person, and hopefully you kill them.
Yeah, I haven't played that in a while, but I feel like I wouldn't be able to even deal with it if I tried. So do you like WCW versus NWO Revenge? Is that kind of your go-to old school wrestling game?
It's one of the ones that we play. Sometimes we play like WrestleMania 2000. All the WCW NWO games are kind of the same, but we always play like Royal Rumble, and basically you're just Irish whipping people into the ropes, kicking them while they're at the ropes, and just knocking them onto the floor. And like it's just look, playing it back now, it's like, oh my god, this is so like archaic the way it's built. It's not built on anything elaborate. It's just so simple, but you just play like one or two battle royales or whatever you want to play, and then you just go on to the next game. We just usually play a game for like half an hour, and then jump to the next cartridge.
Yeah, I can't really remember what was different with Revenge from the first one, because I played the shit out of WCW versus NWO on the 64, and that was kind of my game, and I never really enjoyed any of the other ones as much as that. But what was the difference between that one?
I think it was just the roster, and they might have had more arenas, but it's the same game. It's built on the exact same mechanics as the other one.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, it sounds like you had a good time then. I mean, I haven't done a LAN party like that in a long time. I'm trying to get one together here sometime. I've had a friend come over and we played Xbox side by side and some Halo or whatever, but that's about the last I've done as far as LAN parties go.
Yeah, it's fun having your friends over and just playing some old school stuff and kind of tripping back to the high school days or like elementary school stuff.
All right, so for our show this week, the topic is going to be video game streaming in all its forms. And then after that, we're going into the what the fuck we're playing this week, which is going to be more Division 2 talk. And SynthR has been recently picked up a PS4 and is playing Shadow of the Colossus Remake. And then after that, we'll move into our Q&A section. All right, and just so everyone knows, even though you're already listening, and you probably already know this, but we're going to tell you either way, you can get the Bastards of Gaming podcast on all podcast platforms, whether it be iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Music, and tons more. Just search for Bastards of Gaming. If we're not on the platform of your choice, just reach out to us and let us know. We'll make that happen for you.
Are you part of the Bastards community? No? Well, join the fucking conversation and engage with us by liking our Facebook page at facebook.com/bastardsofgaming. Each week we share your thoughts and feedback on our show. Subscribe to us on YouTube and rewatch clips from past episodes. Simply search for Bastards of Gaming. Lastly, we would love if you could leave us some honest reviews on our Facebook ratings page or in the podcast platform you use to listen to us, such as iTunes. Those reviews will go a long way in helping us build this podcast and community.
Wahoo! Alrighty, kids, on to the topic of the week this week, which is video game streaming in all its various forms. Now, the reason why we wanted to kick this topic off this week, talking about video game streaming, is because of Google's announcement last week of their streaming platform, Google Stadia. There's been rumors and stuff swirling around for a long time about how they're going to come into the video game space, where they're going to put out a normal console, like an Xbox or whatever. So people have been speculating for a long time what exactly they're going to do. And then last year they came out with Project Stream, a beta test name for the service back then before they came out with Stadia. I tested that last year. I think it was back in December, when you could stream Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And I was really impressed with it, just as a first initial test bed for, what they were trying to do. You're playing the game at, I think it was 30 frames per second, 1080p streaming. The input lag was super short. And like I said, I was really impressed with it. But that was just one game. And, I don't really know how that's going to change in the future with other titles. Certain games are more inducive, I think, to being able to stream versus other ones. I've had experience with other streaming services, like back in the day on Live, Gaikai, and I messed around with PlayStation Now a little bit. I didn't really like PlayStation Now at all. But do you have any experience with streaming games?
Yep, I've played, or tried out rather, on Live back in the day, and it's a neat concept, but back then it just didn't work because of the input lag and everything else that went along with it. You just couldn't play games that required those like milliseconds of input, and I felt like I was relegated to playing like puzzle games or RPGs where like a second could go by and it'd be fine because I'm just pushing a button to tell it to attack instead of trying to react to somebody shooting at me like a shooter.
Yeah, usually how I test these things out, the first thing I do is try to play a racing game, because that's the one that needs the most like direct input. Like, if you need to brake real quick or steer, you need that instant sort of input. And so that's usually what I use to test out these services. Like when I played PlayStation Now a few years ago, one of the first games I played was Dirt 2 on there, and it was just awful. Like you couldn't even play it at all, because it would be like 3 to 5 seconds before the game would register your input. And at that point, you're never going to beat anybody in a race. You're not even going to beat the AI. So it was kind of pointless.
For PlayStation Now, I think they have the option to download the game, so it's not streaming anymore. It's like Game Pass for Microsoft.
Yeah, it's changed a little bit. I haven't checked back in with it in quite a while, because my initial test run of it, I was not happy with the end results there. But so do you have, so I used On Live a little bit back in the day too, and I wasn't super happy with it either. So On Live came out about 10 years ago now. I think they started talking about it in like 2009. I think it was released in the summer of 2010. And then it was so it had a subscription, like a monthly service that you would pay to have access to all the games. And I just remember it was really cool at the time, because I didn't really have a good gaming PC, but it was kind of funny. You would sort of load it up, and you would have all these little squares. It reminds me of that scene from like The Matrix, where there's all these little things going on the screen behind what's his name. And you could just like click on any one and just watch a certain person that's playing wherever in the world, wherever they're at a certain point in the game. And I remember that was kind of fun, just popping in and out. It's kind of like, what we do now with streaming on Twitch. This was kind of pre-Twitch and all that stuff.
It was definitely ahead of its time. It's just we didn't have the infrastructure, and I don't think Sony had the infrastructure to support any of it. And that's my main concern with Stadia, is it's going to be heavily based on whether or not people have the internet to support it, because it's going to be doing 4K. Like 4K is it's going to destroy your bandwidth.
Yeah, that's the thing, that when they announced that, they said even in the future they'll be able to stream up to 8K at like 120 frames per second. And I'm like, I don't know about that, guys. I mean, if you're telling me you can barely get 1080p going at like 30 frames or maybe even 60 frames per second. But yeah, they're talking about, well, we can do 4K, 60 frames per second, HDR and all that stuff. And I'm like, I don't know about that. I mean, like I said, my initial test with Assassin's Creed Odyssey on Project Stream last year was pretty good, but I can't imagine, being able to do 4K and all that, and the amount of data that would take. and stuff like that.
I like the idea that, hey, I can play it on anything that'll have Google Chrome. You know, it's neat. Like maybe I could play it on my phone and just have the controller there hooked into it or whatever. That's a neat idea. But I'm not going to be able to play it on my phone because I don't have the data for it unless I'm doing it in my house off Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like I still have to have like wired connection in my house where I have unlimited data to support this whole thing. And sometimes I'll do remote play and I'm doing it between multiple floors and everything's wired, and even remote play doesn't always work. Sometimes it disconnects and just does whatever. And my internet is like 300 megabytes per second or whatever. So it's like, it's not the internet. It's just whatever's happening isn't really working the way it should be working.
Yeah. So I guess we should just clarify real quick too that, you know, as I said before, this is Google's first foray into the game space, and it's going to be a streaming service. So you'll be able to just click on a game and start playing it instantly. No downloading. It doesn't matter what platform you want to play it on, whether it's a tablet, whether it's a phone, whether it's a computer, a laptop, TV through, you know, like a Chromecast. Anything basically where you can pull up a web browser is basically how you're going to launch these games. You're going to be able to do like 1080p, 60 frames per second, 4K. You know, we don't have 8K screens yet, but they said you'll be able to do that in the future. All this is happening through their, I don't know, these like little server farm things that they have. I don't really understand. This is the only. So basically, you have these little, I assume, little structures or places spread out throughout the world where you have basically like server farms almost essentially, but these are like supercomputers that are running these. And so like I'm just wondering like how this all operates, like how many of these potential supercomputers are you going to need? And the thing that I'm worried about like long term is that like how many games are they going to have on this service? And if you're wanting to play a game that came out like 5 years ago, is that still going to be available after the service has been going for a little while and you have, you know, potentially hundreds, thousands of games on here? Well, how are you going to have space for all that? Like, can I just load up, you know, Assassin's Creed Odyssey 5 years from now? Is that still going to be on your service? Are games going to come and go? Like, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I understand how data centers and server farms work. I don't really understand how a user will be able to log in and say, hey, I'm logged in. I have a subscription to this, because I'm assuming it's going to be subscription based. I'm going to log into this and I want to play this game, and whatever's on the other side, whatever computer is there, is going to run the game that I pick just for me. Because we think like, okay, everybody owns a PC. That PC is something you control. You have the game on that one PC. So we're all thinking like we each get our own supercomputer, whatever, at Google's data center, which isn't the case. So I don't know if they're going to have like a computer, like one supercomputer that'll do like thousands of games at the same time, like it could just play. I don't think that technology exists. I don't know like what Nvidia's making or any of those guys are making for equipment that could support this. I have no idea. Like no idea.
Well, apparently
it doesn't make sense to me either, a little bit.
Yeah, well, apparently it's being made off AMD architecture, but I mean, still at the same time, you're going to need. So they're saying that this thing's going to have 10.7 teraflops, which is more than the PlayStation 4 Pro, and Xbox One X combined right now. So that's like a lot of fucking computing power there. And so, I mean, you got to think like if you were to build a rig yourself that could run the games 4K, 60 frames per second, and play all these AAA titles at you know, at the best quality. I mean, you're talking about a $2,000 to $3,000 computer that would typically run that. So are they just going to have these huge warehouses with just like $2,000 computers running all this stuff? Like, I just don't really I understand how like cloud computing works and server farms and all that stuff, but to be able to stream a game is different from streaming music and, you know, TV shows and stuff like that from like Netflix or Spotify.
It's definitely something we would have to like research, right? Because we don't have that knowledge, you and I. I'm sure it's out there. I don't think Google has like said anything else. I'm sure other people are speculating that understand the infrastructure that it would take to run this type of thing. I'm sure we could find that. I'm curious. I don't know. In my brain, it doesn't really work because that's not my world.
Yeah, but so are you interested or excited for this Stadia thing at all?
I'm on the fence. I like the idea I can play anywhere, so I could literally just like go on vacation and still have access to this stuff without lugging a console and TV and all this other stuff. If they're going to do like a subscription based thing, so every month you pay $20-$30 to access X amount of games, kind of like Game Pass or PlayStation Now, I think that would be enticing as well. I'm sure there's going to be an entry point price where you have to get their controller or buy something that allows you to gain access to it in the first place. Because if they're just going to do the subscription fee of $20 and then you just buy a controller for $50, I don't know how they're going to make money off that.
Yeah, well, that's the main thing to like. I mean, this is how it's all going to come together for me is what their pay model is going to be. Because, I mean, typically, Google doesn't make you pay for any of their services right now for anything they do. So I don't know if they'll have a typical like so much a month, and that's where this kind of gets weird because I understand like because apparently everyone's trying to jump into this game streaming space. I mean, everyone is saying that they're working on something behind the scenes. I mean, I think some of us are speculating that Microsoft is going to announce their sort of streaming thing at E3 this year. So everyone's, it seems like everything is moving toward this streaming future. I mean, we're already streaming all our music through Spotify or whatever else, and our TV through Netflix and stuff like that. So it makes sense that people are trying to jump into this space, but I just don't know if video games are how that's going to work with video games because it's such a different medium and it's so dependent on horsepower of the console you're playing it on or the PC you're running it on or whatever. And so whereas like a TV show and a song, it's the same every time, so it's easier to stream that and buff it, and so you're always getting like the best picture quality. But a game where you can literally be doing anything at any second, so the computers can't predict what the next frame is going to be or what your next action is going to be. It kind of makes it different. But the subscription model is really what's going to kind of bring this all home for me, or sell me or not sell me on it, because I don't know. I mean, I would be up for paying a monthly subscription if it was worth it. But I just don't know. We don't know what their pay model is going to be yet, because I mean, I would be interested in it more from the standpoint if you could do sort of like what they were doing with PlayStation Now, where you could rent games, even though their renting structure on PlayStation Now, last time I checked in anyway, was pretty awful. But like, I would like it if I could just, hey, the Division 2 just came out. I want to try it for a second just to see if I like it, and maybe I could throw them a few bucks and rent the game for a couple hours and see if I like it, and then just be able to play it instantly. Like, that's kind of enticing. So I would want it more as like a way to just like play a game here and there. But I don't know, because it's like, I mean, how are these game companies going to be getting enough money from these games if it's a subscription service? I mean, we're already seeing Microsoft do this with Game Pass, and obviously they're probably giving these developers and studios tons of money behind the scenes to be able to have those games on Game Pass. So I don't know. It's going to be weird, like how this sort of pay model works, because if you're still, let's just say that the service is free and all you're doing is paying for the individual games. Well, I mean, if I'm paying $60 to play like Assassin's Creed Odyssey on this Stadia thing, then, I don't want to just be able to play it there. And am I going to be locked into that platform only at that point? Could I still play it on my Xbox if I wanted to? I don't know. It just kind of, I don't know. It's just kind of all up in the air for me as far as that goes. Like, what do you think is the best model for this, though?
I don't know. I don't think I'm smart enough to figure this thing out, because I'm just baffled by the logistics that would have to go into this. Like, I don't mind if everything is being streamed. I just don't want to be pigeonholed into playing games that don't require speed of input and stuff like that, because it's like you said before, when you stream a video or a song, it's you clicked on a button and it's coming directly to you. Now when you play a game, you told it to start, it's coming to you, you're inputting something every like millisecond, and it's going back to them and they're sending it back to you again. So it's this constant like back and forth thing. So if they can figure that out and there's no input lag and it runs perfectly fine and doesn't disconnect and has multiplayer and all this stuff, I'd be fine with a subscription-based model. and they have whatever games on there. Maybe they don't have games day one when they release. I'm going to assume that they're going to have a lot of exclusives in the beginning, because we're seeing this like exclusives war going on right now. Like today they announced Borderlands 3 is going to be on the Epic Game Store for 6 months before it's actually released anywhere else. And we saw Epic do this before with Metro Exodus. And I feel like they're going to enter Google's going to enter the game space with this and do the exact same thing Epic's doing. And it's just going to cause like competition, which is great, but is it enough to pull me away from consoles where I know my console's going to play, I know the games are going to play, it's already set up, I already own it, I don't necessarily have to have a subscription fee, I can get whatever game I want, I don't have to be stuck to whatever's on the subscription service. I don't know, it's just there's too many question marks right now.
Yeah, I mean, because the way I'm looking at it is like you could have potentially like, so the service is free and then you just pay for the individual games, or you could have a monthly fee, or maybe there's some kind of like weird tier system where you pay like your monthly fee like you would for Netflix or whatever else, Game Pass, and then you have like you buy it's almost like a cable package where you buy the Ubisoft tier, and then you get all the Ubisoft titles, but you pay like an extra $5 or $10 more a month. And so I just don't until we know what they're really going to do with this. And like I said, the biggest thing for me is like, I want to be able to like rent games. Like the idea of having like a Blockbuster in your house where you could just instantly click on a game and play it for like 30 minutes or an hour and whatever you would need to pay a few bucks to do that. I would be interested in that. But yeah, until we know what they're going to do with the pay structure of this thing, it's kind of hard to say, because at the end of the day, I mean, even if this service works 99% of the time, that's not good enough. You know what I mean? That 1% of the time that it doesn't work, like you're in the middle of a hard boss battle and the thing glitches out and you die after you spent like 15 minutes wailing on this guy or whatever, then it's not the ideal platform. You know what I mean? I think most hardcore gamers are already kind of like shitting on this for the most part, because most of us, you know, we want the stuff running natively on our own hardware in our own homes because that's the best possible experience. And so, you know, if there is one company that could pull this off, it's definitely Google. And, you know, they can lose money on this thing for a long time if they wanted to. Like, they could just eat the cost of this. It doesn't really matter to them. But, you know, a lot of gamers are just skeptical about this because Google is, you know, is known for just dropping things whenever they feel like it. You know, a certain Google service comes out and they want everyone on board with it, and then they shut it down months later, a couple years later, for no reason. So, you know, the thought of investing into this as a platform in the future is almost a little shaky too, because we don't know, like, is Google just going to be like, we don't want to do this anymore, like a year from now, and you've already invested all your money in buying games on this service, and then suddenly you don't have access to them anymore and your save states are gone and stuff like that, you know?
That's the main reason why I don't like buying digital. I don't have too many digital games. Most of the digital games I have are digital only. If I can get a physical copy, I'm going to go get the physical copy. I don't keep my games a lot of the time. I'll resell them or trade them to somebody else, like not to like GameStop or anything, but trade them to like an actual person for something. That's a good point. Like, what happens to your library if it tanks or if it disappears or whatever? Because I think you've had that experience where you've bought seasons of television shows and that service is no longer around.
Yeah, it was whatever Microsoft's old one. What was that on the 360? It was like I can't remember now. But yeah, I bought like entire seasons of like Battlestar Galactica, and they're just gone now. And ever since, I've never bought any digital movie. I mean, I buy digital games sometimes, like, you know, like on the Switch or on PC. I mean, you're kind of just locked into a digital format at that point. But yeah, that's just the biggest thing for me is, you know, game preservation and stuff too. Like, I mean, there's going to be some exclusives to Stadia, like they've already said as much. But so, you know, like what happens like if Stadia goes down and like all the people that made games for those, are they going to just get ported over to a different platform at that point? It's hard to say.
I don't know, like Steam's still up and running. They're doing it. You know what I mean? It's not streaming, but they still have their platform up, and all the games that I've ever purchased are still available, even if they're not available on the storefront.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Steam seems like a mainstay at this point. I don't think anything's really going to happen with them, but I mean, that's just always the, that's always the fear with this stuff is just, is it going to go away? Like, what do I really own? Like, you're basically just licensing these games for the most part. I mean, even if you buy a disc, you still have to download it off the internet and, load it onto a hard drive. And so, what happens if a hard drive crashes in the future and you don't have that game anymore? It's we're already kind of living, existing in this place here where we, people don't even pay for music anymore. We just all stream it from Spotify. And what do you really own anymore? I mean, I don't know. It's just a weird place to be. And it's hard to think about it in terms of video games, how this all fits into that. Because like I said, it makes more sense with like movies and entertainment, like TV shows and stuff like that. But I don't know with video games, man. It's just a sketchy area for me.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Like, I'm interested to see where it goes. I would like it to work. I have my reservations, just as anybody else does with this platform, because we've seen things like this in the past, and they didn't work out. And yes, I agree. Google has the money, the technological ability, everything. They have what it takes to figure this out, and they probably will. And it's just interesting where is this going to go? Where is this going to take the games industry? What's going to happen to the console wars? What's going to happen to the big players in the game industry? How does this change the landscape in 10 years from now? It's just, I couldn't speculate.
Yeah, well, another way I see this working though is if we do get the 5G future we're told is coming around the corner here. I don't know if you know much about how that's supposed to be like the next sort of bump in internet speed is like 5G.
Yeah.
But if that happens, then this maybe becomes a lot more viable because at that point, I mean, like 5G is potentially 10 times faster than the internet we have right now. But still, it's all going to come down to like where you live and how close you are to one of these data centers that's housing all these supercomputers that you're playing these games off of. And whether or not, you have like a bandwidth cap, like you can only use so many gigs of whatever per month, or, just all of that is going to factor into it. But if you can solve those problems, then maybe it's good, but I don't know. I mean, I see myself like dabbling with this, but I don't ever think this will be my main like way to play games is streaming them. But for people that don't really have the money to buy all this stuff, the idea that you could just be watching a trailer for a video game on YouTube and you just click play and you're instantly playing it without really having to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into these gaming platforms. I mean, I can see the appeal of that. And this makes, I mean, this, Stadia would potentially be the most sort of user friendly, everyone can play, kind of platform if it takes off.
But people are just gonna be playing fucking Fortnite. Like, it doesn't matter. But I think you're right though, because it's very dependent on the internet service providers and whether or not people can afford that upgrade to get to 5G or to have the unlimited cap or whatever. Because you know for a fact that ISPs right now are probably looking at this thing and are like, oh my God, we need to come up with a new pay model to screw over our fucking customers and milk them, because this thing is going to be a cash cow for them. Because it's going to be insane bandwidth use and everything else. And gamers and people that are on board with Stadia are going to purchase whatever package they have to purchase to make sure this thing runs. Guaranteed.
So I should just say that the baseline that they're saying is you need 25 megabytes per second to be able to stream like a 1080p 60 frames per second video game, which is a pretty reasonable low requirement to stream games. But I'm curious what they expect you to have if you're wanting to do like 4K 60 frames per second, HDR, all that stuff. 25
will not cut it for that. It's probably going to have to be like a couple hundred. I don't know how it goes up exponentially. But 1080 is like nothing compared to 4K with HDR, right? So
yeah, it's all pretty interesting, but you got to wonder, like, Google makes a lot of their money off ads. Are they going to be like throwing ads all over your game, like you're streaming and all of a sudden an ad for fucking Verizon pops up or whatever? I don't know.
It could be a bar at the bottom that's always there. It's kind of like YouTube, where like things just pop up. We'll see. I'm sure. Like, it's all about money in the end anyway. It's not like, hey, we're making this platform because people love video games and so do we. It has nothing to do with that. It's let's get some money out of this. Let's integrate our YouTube platform into this so that it double bang for our buck and get people on here and talking and whatever. Let's just grab everybody's attention onto Google products.
So what do you think about that controller? Because apparently you can use whatever controller you want, but you do get some added benefits of using their own controller that they're coming out with. It kind of looks a little bit like a mix between a PlayStation controller. They don't have the offset sticks and like an Xbox controller. I mean, it looks pretty standard for the most part, but what's interesting is their controller apparently like hooks up through Wi-Fi directly to their services, directly to the game. I don't know how that really nets you a lot of benefit versus the normal way of playing a controller. I don't know, but what did you think about their controller?
Yeah, it's definitely, the design is definitely stolen from from PlayStation and Xboxes. Like, it's just like as if they took it and mashed it together into one. Like, when you look at it, you kind of think like, oh, it's an Xbox controller. Or if you like look at the black one, you're like, oh, it's a PS3 or a PS4 controller. I don't know. I guess that's as far as we can get for controller ergonomics and design. Like, that's like the best you can probably get. But the Wi-Fi thing is kind of weird. I don't know if that's beneficial. Like, what difference does it make? I don't know. I don't know if skipping over your computer or skipping over your phone or whatever takes away some milliseconds. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't really know either. But it's interesting because it has a couple extra buttons, like you can do the Google Assistance thing. So apparently you could be in the middle of a game, you could be stuck, and you could through voice commands, you could just ask Google Assistant to like help you find a walkthrough, and then it would just pop up, like some YouTube video or something of it would figure out where you're at in the game and find a video that's related to it and try to help you out. That's kind of an interesting aspect. And then there's a separate button, like a share button, where you can be streaming the game yourself, but you're also sending a signal to your YouTube account, so you could have like a backup of your sort of game session, and people could potentially watch you as you're playing. So what do you think about those things?
The Google Assistant thing, that's a gimmick to me. I don't really care. I can easily just type in my own stuff. I don't need it listening, or I don't need to tell it things that it can eventually send to Google and make like a profile of me.
Yeah, well, they're already doing that.
I know. Yeah, it's true. It's true. But they don't need to know more. But I like the idea of streaming it to YouTube and having it save there, because I've tried to do this with Twitch, where Twitch will save and archive your stuff, but it's such low quality, and it's not conducive to it. It's shitty. Because I know that we've always wanted to record our play sessions and have it record our group chat and everything else. And I hope somebody brings a platform out that easily just it records your gameplay session with the team, with the group chat or whatever's going on in the game, all the audio, and it just stores it somewhere that you can easily grab it, and you can make smaller videos, you can make clips out of it, you could do whatever, or just have it posted on YouTube or wherever. I think that's a great idea. I like that idea. I don't know. The way they've shown it, it looks similar to Twitch, where it's just being streamed to YouTube and people can chat and see what you're doing and everything else. And it probably does save it. I just hope it saves it in higher quality instead of 720 like Twitch does.
Yeah, well, it says you can get like a 4K 60 frame per second version sent to like YouTube and stuff. So I don't know. But the other appeal, to this thing really is just being able to play a game instantly. Like, imagine you come home from work and two of your buddies are playing the Division 2, and they're like, "Hey, man, jump in with us." And all you do is click start, and you're playing. There's no more like waiting 2 hours to download a game and patching games potentially. All that's going to be happening on the back end, so you would never have patches or the need to download stuff again. So I think that's kind of potentially, like I said, depending on how their subscription and their pay model works, if there was ever a game and you just wanted a friend to play with you for a second, and they don't have to run out and get a copy and spend money, and you can just literally click start and be playing with your friends. I mean, that's kind of appealing though. It's
never been an issue for me. I always planned ahead to make sure I was ready for whenever we're going to game, but I know some of our friends can't have the foresight to do that sometimes, and we're just yelling at them.
Magnum. But there's also the ability to sort of play instantly with a streamer or play instantly with anyone else. Like, you could be watching someone stream, like someone, whoever it is you watch on Twitch or whatever, and you could just click join or get the game, and you could be playing with them. That's kind of interesting. Although the funny thing about that is like a lot of the streamers actually don't like that ability, and they kind of don't want this thing to be in here because there's like stream sniping where people watching someone play and they try to join their game and they fuck with them while they're playing live and stuff like that. So I think the people that really stream games and stuff like this aren't really on board with the idea that people could be playing with them instantly.
Yeah, you know my thoughts on like streamers and stuff like that. Like I don't really watch anybody. I don't really care about doing it myself. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I figure we'll just roll into that at the end of this sort of all-encompassing streaming topic. So you're like me. I think we just come from an older generation of gamers, and the idea of sitting and watching someone play a game is kind of foreign to us. If I have time to watch someone play a game, then I have time to play a game, and I'm going to be playing a game.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, but have you ever, I guess you've never streamed yourself though, right?
Like I've done it just to see like how it works and whatever, but I don't have like anyone watching me. Like there's billions of people doing the same thing as you. You could say this about any like art form or any content you put on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, I did it a few nights, like a couple of years ago. I was streaming some Witcher 3. I had like a couple people watching, but that was it. But it was interesting. I mean, I like the idea of playing or streaming stuff and playing, and having people watch it. I mean, I kind of wish we could do all our gaming sessions that way. I just don't want to feel like I have to be on all the time, or maybe we might say some controversial stuff in our little private chats. But yeah, I kind of like the idea that maybe I could always be streaming my game. Like if I'm on my Xbox, I'm playing with my friends, I'm just streaming out, and you can do that on both sides of the fence with this, where I'm like be an entertainer while I'm playing games. Sometimes I just want to chill, and there are people out there that stream games. They don't really talk a lot. It's just about you watching them play. So there's all kinds of ways to do it. But I don't know. I'm kind of like of two minds about it, because on the one hand, it's appealing, and I would like to stream every time I'm playing a game and have the potential people watching. But at the same time, I don't want to. Sometimes I just want to chill and just have a little private session with my friends where we're all just shooting the shit and stuff like that. So I don't know.
It could definitely be dangerous because everybody says stuff in the privacy of their own home. Like no one can deny that they've said horrible shit. And like most of the time it's like a joke, but there's always somebody out there that's going to hear it and be like, oh my God, burn this person at the stake.
Well, we saw what happened to PewDiePie a couple, like last year, the year before, when he said the N-word on a stream one time by accident. And then they've never let it down since. And so, yeah, that's the potential danger of saying an oopsie word and then people get mad about it. So do you, is there any streamers that you watch at all? Because I don't really watch them either. But the only one that I do watch is like Dr. Disrespect, and I don't even really watch his like full on streams. I just kind of see his highlight stuff on YouTube.
No, I don't. There's no appeal. Like maybe there's personalities out there that I'd like to watch, but again, like what you said, I'd rather just play the game.
Yeah, but have you ever watched Dr. Disrespect though?
I've seen him, and I think he relates to you because you like people who are assholes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like who are just dicks.
But it's pretty clean. Like he's not really leaning fully into it. I mean, if this was back in the day, you could go really crazy with that stuff. But he's pretty tame. But yeah, I just like his whole gimmick and stuff like that. He's playing up like this, like he's some kind of 80s action movie star, and he's always wearing this stupid get up. And he won these two championships, these two like blockbuster championships or something way back in the day for some game. I don't even remember which. So he's always bragging about how he's the 2-time champion. It's kind of like a whole wrestling persona thing that he does in a way, and I don't know, I just find it funny. But other than that, I mean, I don't really watch too many streamers. The only time I ever watched someone play a game extensively was I found this guy a few years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, and he did this like Iron Man run in XCOM, the first XCOM, where he didn't lose any characters, he never died. And I watched like it was just like a series of YouTube videos, but I watched like probably 11 or 12 hours of this guy just running through an XCOM campaign, and I just found it fascinating that he was playing on the hardest mode. And if all your people wipe, that's the game over. And he never lost anybody. It was just fascinating watching him play through and have this incredible run. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I think we all watch some YouTube clips, or we check out stuff when we need help in a game we get stuck. But yeah, I just don't watch anyone extensively for long periods of time. And I don't know. Like I have some friends that kind of stream a little bit on the side, and they're always like, "Hey, come check it out." And I'm just like, I don't know. I just don't have the time for that. I don't know.
Like, I don't mind watching my friends play if I'm in the same room, but I don't even think I would watch people play a game. Like, I wouldn't watch you play a game. Why would I do that? Unless you're showing me something. I don't know. It's just so weird because I can buy my own game and play too. So it's,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
But yeah, we're definitely not the Twitch streaming, YouTube gaming streaming experts here. But I just figured we'd talk about it a little bit since we're doing all things video game streaming here.
So what the fuck are we playing this week? I know we've been playing a lot of Division, but something that you probably didn't know is that I just recently picked up a used PS4 Pro. This is my second foray into the PlayStation. I owned a PS4 when it first came out originally a couple of years back, and literally none of our friends were on it. You were on it once in a while, but almost everyone was on the Xbox One, so I sold it and just spent like $50 more to jump over to the Xbox One, which I don't regret. I don't really need the PS4 Pro right now because I have way too many games, but the reason why I got it is there's two reasons actually. One, my work gives me tons of gift cards for thank yous and for going above and beyond at work. So my wallet was literally like stiff from like 6 or 7 of these gift cards that I had, and I'm just tired of carrying them around because my wallet won't even close. So I'm like, I got to get rid of these, and you can't use them when you go out to eat and stuff like that because every single time you use it, it sometimes takes money off, and you need to know the amount that's on it and all this other shit. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put it towards a big purchase. And I also had a bunch of trade-in credit at GameStop. So I was like, okay, I'm going to finally get my PS4 Pro again. Originally, I wanted to get something that was like a limited edition version. So I wanted like the God of War one, even though like I don't think the God of War one's that nice looking. But I still wanted something that wasn't just the base model of the PS4 Pro and just black, because all the consoles I own are black or like some shade of gray. So I looked online, and of course, like there's nowhere, like it's all sold out. I would even take like the Kingdom Hearts one if they had it in the bundle. But all the ones that are out there that are new or even used were still really expensive. So I was like, forget it. I'm just going to get a used version because it's $100 off at GameStop. So I went, picked it up. It's in like a generic white box. I get home, open it up, and it's the fucking Spider-Man edition.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I fucking lucked out. Like I opened it and I saw it was red, and I was like, you got to be kidding. Like, yeah. So it has the
wow. You got lucky.
I got really lucky. Like it didn't say on the box. They didn't let me look at it. They didn't open it. I was just like, okay, I got the generic black one. So I have the Spider-Man edition one, which has like a couple scuffs on the top, but it's not too bad. It looks pretty good. And I have the controller with it. So like definitely lucked out with that. And
yeah, I was gonna say, you're talking about want to have a unique thing. Why don't you just do what I do with mine? I go, there's this website that I go to called Slick Wraps, and you can basically buy these little custom. You can even custom make a little sticker set that goes on your different consoles and stuff like that. Like I have my PlayStation 4 Pro and my Xbox One X have this little like stormtrooper design on it, and it looks really cool. And so I put that on all my stuff. I even have one for my phone. I think it's depending on what device you're trying to get a skin for, it's usually around like $30 to $40 or something like that. But I don't know. I think it's a really cool way to do that because I miss the old days of like I still have my skin for my 360 and the faceplate, like a Halo 3 faceplate. I remember the faceplates for 360. Like I always liked that stuff. So yeah, I usually do that whenever I get a new console. Like even my old original Xbox has this whole like Monster Energy drink skull thing wrapper on it. I don't know. I just like doing that kind of stuff.
I did look into that, and like the first ones that come up are like all these like anime girls with their boobs hanging out because I think that's what everybody wants. You know what I mean? I was hesitant because like I have to pay shipping, and shipping's usually more expensive because nobody really does these things in Canada. I didn't know the quality. I didn't know if it was like a vinyl thing and I could easily peel it off, or if I screwed it up, can I take it off and replace it, or is the adhesive so strong that it'll just be stuck where it is because I screwed it up. So I didn't really know. Maybe you could fill me in now just so I know.
Well, I've only used that one, which was, like I said, it's called Slick Wraps. And I've used them probably about 5 times now. And I haven't really taken anything off of my consoles, but the whole procedure of putting it on and sort of the material and everything is super easy. But there's plenty of services out there like that. My experience was just with them. They just had some designs that I liked, and so I've just been using them ever since, really.
Well, it might be something for my Xbox One. So when I got my PS4, there was a huge sale on the Sony store or the PlayStation store, and I picked up the Wipeout Omega bundle, which has Wipeout HD, Fury, and 2048, which was the Vita version, and that was only $14. So I was like, yeah, for sure, let's get that. And I played that off and on. I also picked up Ni no Kuni 2 because I love the first one, and I'm just going to save that for now because I'm too busy playing Division. And I'm also playing through the Shadow of the Colossus PS4 version because I haven't played Shadow of the Colossus for maybe like 10 years. I didn't even play the PS3 version, like the remaster. Just seeing everything that they've done to it, it still looks and plays like a PS2 game, honestly. Like, they're not going to change the mechanics of it, but it looks like 10,000 times better than it did on the PS2. I'm really surprised and happy with the result of it.
All right, yeah. So I played it last year when it first came out too, and it's a lovely little game for sure. This is like my second time rebuying it. I played it on the PlayStation 3 when they did the whole 3D version, and then they had like Eco with it as well. I bought that. So yeah, I've played it. I wish they would have updated the controls a little bit more than they did. It still doesn't feel quite right. It still doesn't feel like a modern video game in that sense, but that's just a lot of Japanese developers. I always struggle with that anyway. But yeah, I played it last year, and it's just a great remake, great remaster, whatever you want to call it. I had a lot of fun with it.
The controls for sure could have been updated. It's very rare I'll play a game where I get frustrated with not being able to control my character the way I should be able to control it. So I haven't in a very long time yelled at the screen. And I was on like the second Colossus. No, it was the third Colossus. It was the one where he has like the huge column on his arm and he like swings down. You have to run up his arm. And
yeah.
And I was climbing on that thing. It's just sometimes the controls are so weird and the physics too. And I'll just be climbing it and like, don't jump, because if you jump, you're just gonna get like whipped off the level, basically. Like, physics be damned. It's just like you're rolling around and you're trying to grab stuff and you don't understand what's happening. Like, it's so clunky sometimes. I don't know if that adds to it because I don't know. It's so for the people that don't know what type of game this is, basically you're running around on the ground and you have to kill these gigantic, like building sized giant colossi. And you do that by kind of figuring out how to get onto them because you climb them basically. And every single colossus is different. Like for the one I'm talking about, you have to kind of goad it into swinging this column. It hits the ground and you have to run onto the column and run up it to get to its like bicep area where it has like fur, and you climb up the fur and you climb up to its head and you find the weak spot on these colossi and you stab it until it dies. And while you're stabbing it, it's trying to throw you off. It's like shaking its head, or it's like trying to grab you or throw you around. And you have like a grip meter that goes away gradually as you're climbing or as you're holding on. So the frustrating part is like the physics are weird. So sometimes you'll jump and you'll try to jump to a different spot and it just didn't align right and you end up falling to the ground. So now you have to start from the bottom again to climb back up it. Or there's times where if you're just running and the colossi moves a weird way, it'll like throw you off. Like, it doesn't even make sense sometimes. Like you weigh nothing sometimes. You just kind of float off the colossi and fall off. The controls could have been updated. They could have kind of fixed some of the things, but like I was going to say, it kind of plays into the game. Like, it should be a struggle to climb up this thing. It shouldn't be bing, bam, boom, I'm on its head stabbing it. You know, it should be a struggle to climb these massive things.
Yeah, some of the boss fights are a little finicky, and the controls sort of definitely add a layer of frustration given the sort of demands that the game asks of you to be able to get to certain points on certain bosses. Like the one that's annoying to me is the one that's the underwater one, like the little serpent one. And it's like it comes out of the water like very specific points, but it's like there's no like rhyme or reason that I could figure out as to when it actually swims by you and comes out of the water, so you can actually jump onto it. That one always annoyed me. And when I played it last year, I got right up to the last Colossus in that Colossi or whatever in that game. It was I can't stand that fight. It's so awful. I quit right at the end. Like I was like minutes away from the end. That last boss, like the convoluted way you have to climb up it and the timing needed to jump on these very small portions of his body. Like there's one part where it like brings his hand up and you have to like jump on the back of his hand or something like that. And it's so difficult to pull it off. And I don't know. I just rage quit at that every time because that last boss is just so annoying. Like how precise you have to be, and the controls constantly fuck you over. And so yeah, I'm like, well, I've already beat this. I already played through the whole game, so I'm like, I don't need to sit here and try 30 times to get to the top of this motherfucker.
The camera is a problem too. I like the controls and the camera together. Sometimes you can't get it right. And I remember having trouble with the last Colossus 2 back in the day. I know I beat it, but I do remember getting pissed off at like falling or slipping or just not making it to where I needed to go. And I think it's because the controls are weird and you can't get the camera to stay put. It always wants to center itself on your player when you should just be able to move the camera where you want it to be and it stays there while you do whatever. Because then you'd be able to see where you're jumping instead of always being behind. I think I've beaten 5 of the Colossi, and the 4th one is actually my favorite one. That's the bird one, Avion. Like the one where it swoops down, you got to jump on the wings.
Yeah.
I love that one because I just love jumping on it and you just whoop up into the air you go. The bird's flapping its wings and you're trying to like stay on and it's flying all over the place. To me, that's like super epic. That's like the most epic thing in the game to me. Not the last Colossi that's like the size of a mountain.
Yeah, I like that one, and I like the one that's sort of in the deserty place where it comes down and like goes in the sand and then comes back out and like flies around, and you get on that one. It's kind of the same thing. Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite ones too.
Yeah, it's one of the best games in my opinion that I've ever played. Like it's such a unique title.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and then we've both been playing tons of Division 2. I have played the absolute dog shit out of this game over the last like 2 or 3 weeks. Like an absurd amount of this game. Like I can't get enough of it. Like I just want to play it all the time. Every time I get home from work or whatever, I'm like trying to reach out to somebody. Is anybody on? Can anybody play? So I've been playing the absolute dog shit out of it. And we talked about it a lot last week, so we're not going to go too much more in depth on it. But I had some other stuff I wanted to sort of bring up. The thing I forgot to mention last week was I like the quality of life things they've done with this game, like the weapon mods and stuff like that, where in the first game you had to go and strip every mod off every gun and then reattach it to whatever other gun. And this game, like all the mods are just kind of there and you can just put them on every gun, so you don't have to go in there and keep tweaking with all this stuff. So that's a nice thing. Even though that doesn't carry over to the sort of gear mods and stuff on your different pieces of gear. I wish the system kind of worked the same, because now I'm getting like so many mods in my inventory and they're all stacking up and I have to sort through them and break some of them down and stuff like that. And every time I want to sell a backpack or something like that, I have to go strip the mods off of it first. So I wish they would have kind of taken the sort of weapon mod system and put it onto the gear mods and stuff like that. But I just got into sort of re-rolling perks and stuff a couple nights ago because I hit the level cap. I hit 30. But yeah, so there's what I do like about this game though too is that there's no character classes. I know some people like to play character classes. I like how you just make a character and just whatever skills and abilities and weapons you want to use, you just use them. So, and it's something like, Destiny where people play like 2 or 3 characters and you got to grind on each character. It's nice to just have like one character that can do everything pretty much.
I think you can specialize at some point. I think I read that. Like I kind of ruined that for myself.
That's what we have to get to. Like that's why I wanted to try to get these strongholds done, because once you clear out all the strongholds, that's when the end game stuff rolls in. And yeah, you have like 3 different specializations that you can go into, and you can almost kind of juggle those like you would classes in another game, but you can always swap between them on the fly or, in between missions or whatever else. But yeah, so that's coming. That's what I'm sort of looking forward to getting to, because right now, once you hit 30, like the sort of loot thing just like drops off drastically. Like I probably played for like 5 or 6 hours last night, and I probably found like 3 or 4 things that were useful to me versus the run up to 30 where you're getting like constant loot that's making you better and finding new guns that are better. It kind of stops off before you get to that end game. So that's why I'm trying to get everyone up to speed so we can all hit that end game and stuff like that.
I played a bit this morning, and I'm ready to go for the strongholds now. I know last night we couldn't do it because I had to beat like 1 or 2 more missions, but I did them this morning quick, so I'm good to go.
Yeah, it sucks that some of the requirements were glitched. Like we had to replay missions we had already played and stuff like that. But yeah, I think I got the stuff done for Evan. Magnum's up to speed, and I'm good, and you're good now. So we should be able to tackle 1 or 2 of these strongholds tonight. I'm looking forward to that. So I don't know. What did you think about? Have you really been paying attention to the story at all? Like I think the structure of this game is beneficial to how you are going to play it. But I feel like the first game like even had like a little bit better of a story, or just like I don't know. I'm just not like invested in any of the characters or anything going on, and that's fine. That's not what I'm here for with this game. But I don't know. I just thought that the first game handled all that stuff a little bit better.
To be honest, I feel like Ubisoft drops the ball with character building and stuff. Like you might not disagree. I'll say Assassin's Creed games, they have that because it's based around a story and there's other stuff happening, joins the games together. Those aren't bad, but a lot of their games, I don't know, maybe it's just the Tom Clancy games. Like it's just military type game and like stuff's happening and it's just so like big and grandiose and like who cares what's happening. Like I skipped the story in this one. In Ghost Recon I was skipping it. Like I don't really care.
Ghost Recon is the absolute worst.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible dialogue. It's funny. The best thing out of it's shitballs, which we're all sad that it's not in this game. It should be in every Ubisoft game where someone just says shitballs.
Yeah, unfortunately, no shitballs in Division 2. That's one of my main gripes with it. So but yeah, I'm the same way. I don't come to Ubisoft games for the story, and they've never told me a compelling story other than some of the Assassin's Creed stuff. I mean, they even said a few years ago that moving forward, their sort of initiative with a lot of their games was to be like, you're telling your own story, which is some stupid marketing bullshit that they want to tell people. But it is kind of true because I mean that's usually my experience with Ubisoft games is they're usually some kind of co-op open world thing, and I'm just fucking off with my friends anyway. So I don't really care. I mean, yeah, the Ubisoft has yet to tell me a very compelling story, but at the end of the day, that's fine because their games are funner than almost anything else out there.
I like the echoes and how you pick up phones and stuff like that. They kind of add to that. I'm not in love with the lore of the game. Like I don't mind the scenario, like the outbreak and people have died and there's it's like a virus and all this other stuff. I don't mind that because that shit's actually like legit scary to think about and it could easily happen. I don't identify with like any of the characters and like the president's Mr. like 80s badass and like I don't know. It's so generic. When that situation would actually be super complicated. It's not like, hey, we got a division agent. We're just going to keep sending you out to places and you're going to be the action hero that we need. And you're a one-man army. Like, there's nothing special about this guy. The guy you play is wearing fucking cut-off jeans and running shoes, and he's murdering, like, hundreds of people who have, like, gone batshit crazy. And that's the thing I don't understand is why are there factions that want to, like, take over everything? I don't really understand, like, the hyenas. They're just, like, crazy post-apocalyptic people that just murder. So they're all, like, criminals. And then there's the outcasts. Like, what's different about them? I don't know. And then there's the True Sons who are, like, old JTF, like, police people. And they want to, like, run the city. But why? Why do you want to run the city? Like, why would anybody not want to cooperate and figure this shit out? Like, I don't understand the power struggle.
It's almost like getting into like Mad Max territory, where it's just these insane gangs of just people.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like what is it? Which one is it? The Outcast, the one that have like the suicide bombers that just run in on you and explode.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. So like, is that religious? Is that like a religious cult? Are they a cult?
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like even the strongholds that we're supposed to tackle tonight, we're like killing off the leader of these different factions and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't even know who these leaders are. I don't even know what they're about.
Yeah, like what is their stance? Like, why are they doing this? Why are these people like murdering or trying to take over the city? What do you get from owning the city? Like you're lording over people who are using like beehives and running their own hydroponic shit. Like there's nothing to have to.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I mean, there's still mafia today. There's still gangs out there. So I don't know. Maybe it's not.
But there's money. There's money and drugs and everything else. Not our population is still growing. This population was annihilated. There's nobody. The streets are empty.
That one faction has they huff that little green stuff and pump themselves up. So maybe they're dealing in some drugs. I don't know. But some things I don't like about the game, I've kind of I wasn't really noticing a lot at first, but once people started pointing it out to me, I started noticing a lot more. But have you noticed a lot of the sort of texture pop in and load in that happens a lot of times?
Sometimes, yeah, especially when you're going around like door frames or corners and stuff like that, or like when you're loading in, it's still loading a lot of the stuff. But
I think I just don't notice it as much because I'm usually looking down because you're constantly seeing like loot crates and little backpacks and stuff like that. So, but if you actually stand back and look at everything, a lot of times you'll notice like in the background things sort of loading in and stuff like that. But I do like that all the cosmetic stuff you can just earn in game. Some of it might take a little while, but I actually because I love Ubisoft and I love this game so much, I actually spent a little bit and bought some of their dollary dues, so I might buy me some skins or some emotes or something like that. Yeah, I'm that guy. But hey, look, man, they gave me a good product, and I reward good work with a little extra money here and there. I'll throw Ubisoft some extra dollars here and there for putting out entertainment like this.
Well,
but
great.
It's cool that you
because now you can buy the LL Cool J Kanga bucket hat, like Run DMC hat.
Well, the reason why I wanted to do it initially was I wanted to get that cowboy outfit, and then I ended up unlocking the cowboy hat in the game. So I was like, cool, now I don't have to buy it. But all their, I mean, even moving forward, they're like all their future content updates for this are going to be free. So it's just like, a little bit of goodwill goes a long way with me. So it's just like, well, I don't mind throwing them a few extra dollars for giving me a game that actually fucking works day one and is fun and I haven't really had any problems with. But
I don't disagree. I just think like Ubisoft's notorious for this, in my opinion, where their cosmetic stuff is kind of crap. Like I don't care. Yeah. It's just all the same sunglasses, just different colors, and there's different shoes. Like, give me something that'll make my character look completely different, like something crazy or like an eye patch or just something that's not generic, like t-shirt, pants, shoes.
I mean, they kind of branched out a little bit with this one. The first game was really bad about that. I mean, everyone makes the joke that the apparel and all your cosmetic stuff in this is basically like ordering out of an LL Bean magazine. But I mean, they kind of have gone a little bit farther into it. But yeah, I wish they would just, because this game is so fucking absurd anyway. Even though they try to kind of ground it and it's got the Tom Clancy name on it, I don't know how much that dictates like the kind of stuff that goes into it. I don't know, what that means to have the Tom Clancy name on a game. But yeah, I kind of wish they would lean a little bit farther into just like being really goofy with some of the shit. Like if I can run around in a panda outfit, like why the fuck not? Just let us do something stupid. I feel like some of the skills and stuff like that are very underwhelming compared to other ones. Like the chem launcher with the poison is like fucking clutch, and the turrets, the machine gun turrets are good. The flame one's pretty good too, but there's certain other skills like the ricochet shield and other stuff. Like maybe that stuff will come into play once you're doing like 8-man raids and you have like, you have to tackle things in a different way. But I feel like they might need to tweak some of the skills because a lot of them just seem completely useless compared to other ones. What do you think?
The shield, I wish it actually was useful, because I would use it. I'm the type of person that'll try and go up and push people out of cover. So I would use the shield to do it. But the shield, like the second you pull it out and you start walking, everybody's shooting at you and you almost lose the shield instantly because it has its own health bar. It can't take a beating. It's kind of useless. And there's like that firefly thing, which is similar to the drone, but it does different stuff. Like it drops things on people or it like dazes them. Like why would I want to use that? Unless it was on a super short cooldown and I just constantly could spam it.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to tweak some of that stuff because I have like 3 or 4 go-tos, and there's really no reason to switch off from those for the most part. But like I said, once we get to in-game and maybe like having different skills will be useful in certain scenarios. But playing through the base game, it seems like some of these are woefully sort of unremarkable for the most part. But so what's some of your favorite, like what's your sort of play style in this game? And like what are your go-to skills and like favorite weapons and stuff?
So I always have the health drone to like repair my armor or help somebody else do whatever. I don't know if the hive thing is better for that, because I think it has like a radius that you have to stand in, whereas the drone I can like send over to you across the map, basically, to save you. I use that, and I use just the regular machine gun turret because it's so powerful and it helps. Because even though we've been playing, I haven't been able to play with you guys as much. So I've been playing a lot of single player, like alone solo stuff, and that turret just saves your ass.
Yeah, I've almost never taken the turret off the entire. That was the first skill I unlocked, and I've almost never taken it off the entire game.
It's just so useful. It's just like another body. Like I'll throw it somewhere to flank, and I'll move to the other side. So now we have crossfire going. And in solo play, I've never really had an issue with that. Without it, it's a little bit more difficult, but with it, like, no problem.
Yeah, I love like trying to find like cool little places to throw that turret up onto, to like find the highest little point in a little arena or whatever, and that way it has like cover fire over the whole thing. I love like walking into or about to start a firefight. I'm like, all right, where can I throw my turret? I'm gonna throw it up on these boxes over here, and it'll cover this whole area. And yeah, I don't know. The turret is so satisfying to me. It'd
be fun if you could just throw it on the walls and ceilings and stuff. I guess it'd be cheap. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be cool though. Like if it worked like the whatchamacallit in GoldenEye. Didn't GoldenEye have a weapon like that?
No, it was Perfect Dark.
Perfect Dark. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. That would be a cool idea if you could actually just throw it onto anything. Yeah, so I've been using the turret and then the sort of poison chem launcher. That's been kind of my go-tos now, because I like the chem launcher because you can just shoot it on like snipers that are holed up in the back of a map somewhere and they're just picking you off. You can just shoot that gas, knock them out of cover, just kill them outright a lot of times. But I like the sort of seeker mine things, the multiple one where you have like 4 of them that go out. I like that a lot. But that's kind of my play style. Weapons, I usually like. I finally got a yellow classic M1A last night. That's my go-to gun. That was my favorite gun in the first game. So I like having a like single shot, like bolt action style gun, and then some kind of like assault rifle with a big magazine, like an LMG, or sometimes I'll even use an SMG with like a pretty big clip in it, like a Vector, or maybe an AUG and stuff like that. So those are kind of my go-to weapons. What weapons do you normally use?
I'll have an assault rifle and usually a shotgun, because like I said, I like to like move up on people and try and flank them. So I'll just blast the shit out of them with a shotgun. Or if I don't have a great shotgun, I'll have just like a regular rifle, so I could like snipe people when they poke their heads up. But it's hard because since the reload is so long on some of these guns, and they pop up for a second, if you miss, you're screwed, right? So I just stick with the assault rifle and just try to gun them down as they're running.
Yeah, well, you got to have something like for the people that run up on you too. That's why I like having an LMG a lot of times. Or once you unlock that big clip, there's like a mission, like it's called Justice League or something Justice, and you get an assault rifle clip that adds like 30 rounds to your magazine. So if you put that on like assault rifle, a lot of times you can get up to like 50 to 70 rounds sometimes. So I like to do that.
Are there grenade upgrades? Because it looks like you can get different grenades, but I've never seen one.
Yeah, that's the one thing I've been curious about too, because I've seen like, some of the other enemies you run up to, like I've seen them throw out shot grenades and stuff like that. I'm wondering if that comes into play at the end game or something, because it seems like you would have different grenade types, like a flame grenade or like a shot grenade, or I don't know, some kind of like poison grenade or something. It seems like they could definitely do something with that. But yeah, I haven't seen anything about that. I've been curious about that myself.
Because there's an area for it. You can pick it, and you go in as if you could pick other ones, but there's nothing there, and you never pick anything up. Maybe it's something for a later date. Maybe it's DLC. Yeah. The grenade DLC.
Yeah, but I definitely think they're going to do something with that if it's not already in the end game, because it's certainly not anywhere that I've seen. But yeah, I've been curious about that myself. All right. Now we're on to the Q&A section. And before we get started here, if you have any questions you want to ask us, have an interesting topic that you want to pitch, or want to be a part of the show, send us an email at bastardsgamingnetwork@gmail.com, or message us on the Bastards of Gaming Facebook group.
So the first question this week actually wasn't written in. It was asked to me in person by my good friend Buck Swaby. He said that he really enjoyed our music episodes and was wondering if we liked the original versions of a song better than remakes or remixes of it. And the example that he gave was Final Fantasy X, the remaster, when it came out, actually redid all the music with a live orchestra. So it was the original like sequenced like video gamey version in the original Final Fantasy X, and then the remaster had all these orchestrated versions, and he prefers the original video game type versions over the orchestrated versions.
Well, I think the original versions are obviously going to be more special and hold a more of a place in your heart, because that's how you originally heard those songs. But yeah, in the case of like Final Fantasy, like you were sharing me some of those orchestrated remasters or re-recorded things, and I was like, holy shit, this is like 1,000 times better. And like I said, even that one track that I pulled from Final Fantasy IX, I liked the remixed version of it way better than the one that was actually in the game. I mean, you can love both of them, but I like them being a little bit dressed up with actual instrumentation and stuff like that maybe wasn't in some of those older titles like that.
So some of the ones that I showed you were actually like fan made ones that people just made with like their own like orchestra kits in like a digital workstation. So like even fans can do fantastic jobs dressing it up, as you'd say. For me, I don't know. Everything can coexist. The original can exist. Remixes can exist. Fan covers can exist. I love the original versions, of course, but the orchestrated stuff that people will come up with, or if the company ends up like giving their music out to like orchestras to like go tour around, because I don't remember what some of the names are, but I know like Square had an orchestra touring around doing all the Final Fantasy music, and I wish that came to Canada because I'd absolutely go to that. And I've gone to something that kind of had that theme with it, like they did like Halo, and they had some other Sony games and one Final Fantasy game where it was like a concert that they put on, and I really enjoyed that. So I like orchestrations of video game music because it kind of goes hand in hand, and it's actually really cool what they can do with that stuff. Like I understand what Buxwabi was going toward with the whole nostalgia part. Like, I don't know, like some original versions, you'll never do them justice as a cover or remake or remaster of it. Sure. I don't know. There's not too many games for me to kind of pull from to say if I lean one way or the other. The only one I could really think of was Dragon Quest VIII, which probably is the most popular Dragon Quest. When it first came out, it had all the sequenced video gamey type music in it. But when it was released in Japan and Europe, it actually had full-on orchestrated versions of the whole soundtrack that was in the game. So that was back in 2005, and that stuff wasn't released in North America. And then
I don't think there's a ton of examples of like music being remastered, or even like you said, some of the fan stuff. I mean, it's technically not official, but I don't know. It kind of all folds back into just there's bands that do a cover song of an older song, and the cover is actually better than the original. It's pretty rare, but it can happen.
I was trying to think of games that like have existed, kind of like Doom, where it kind of has a theme song, sort of, and with each sequel, they will redo the theme song. And I can't really even think of like games that have like the same theme that kind of go through it. Like Halo kind of has that. Maybe you could talk to that.
Yeah, Halo does that. Like they've remixed the sort of main Halo theme in every game. Like it's slightly different in pretty much every game for the most part.
And like I'm sure you have favorites. Like is the original your favorite, or like a newer version?
Yeah, I mean the original is probably my favorite, just because it's all about nostalgia and stuff like that. But then when I was talking about Halo 2, then they brought in Steve Vai for that version, so it has all the lead guitar stuff and soloing over it and stuff like that. So that's probably the better version. But then they sort of remix it again, like I said, with every title, and it's just a little bit different. It kind of sometimes matches the tone of the game a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess the first one is probably my favorite. But yeah, I mean, that's the only example that I know of that I can think of that sort of does what you're talking about. But you were talking about, was it Video Games Live that you went to? There's been quite a few of those where they have like a live orchestra play like video game music. Which was the one that you went to?
I totally forget which one it was now. It was just like it wasn't themed for a certain type of game. It just kind of went through like 12 or 13 different games, and a lot of the songs I've never heard before because they weren't always like AAA titles. I forget what it was. It was still really nice and fun to go to it. I just wish like a really well-known one would come to Canada or something where they had like all Nintendo games or something like that.
Yeah, so the only experience I have with that is going to the Star Wars version of that, where they played all the sort of music from the Star Wars movies with a live orchestra, and Anthony Daniels was there, and he would do these little interludes and talk in between the pieces, and they would show the parts from the movie in the background, and it was a pretty cool little production, honestly.
Yeah, that's cool. There's one thing that they do here in Toronto where they'll show a movie and they'll have a live orchestra do the soundtrack. And I didn't get to go. My favorite movie's Gladiator, but they had one for Gladiator where like the orchestra was actually playing like the Hans Zimmer soundtrack. And I wish I could have went to that. It's like watch the movie and have them play the music.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking epic.
So to answer that question, I don't know. It's a hard question to answer because there's not too many examples of games that have updated the music or changed it or did anything.
I'm sure there are. I'm sure there's more than we're kind of thinking of on the fly here. But I'm sure there are other examples we're not thinking of. But yeah, so to answer the question, wrap it all back around. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of give or take here and there. You know, I don't know. Some remasters are better, some aren't. I like the original music in some games. I like covers of songs and stuff like that. It just depends. All right, and the next question comes from Red Dead Dad, who asks, what are your favorite condiments and what is your ultimate sandwich ingredients list? So here we go with another food topic, but I think we can keep this one pretty tame this week. So what are your favorite condiments?
All right, so condiments, I'm a fan of sauces. So I like hot sauces, but I don't like when they're spicy, if that makes sense. So I love Cholula hot sauce and all the different derivatives of it. Like they have Chipotle and everything. For years, ever since I tried it, my favorite type of hot sauce is the jalapeno Tabasco sauce, like the green one. I love that sauce. I love it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge hot sauce guy. I do like it sometimes, especially I don't know if you guys have like a Firehouse Subs place up there in Canada, but it's like a sandwich place down here where they kind of steam the meat, so it's like hot sandwiches, and then they have like just loads of like different sort of hot sauces you can put on there, and you can kind of bring them to your table, just get little bottles and try different little things and stuff like that, and those are pretty good to put on sandwiches and stuff like that. My favorite is this brand called Gator Hammock. It's just the flavor of it. It's not super hot as far as hot sauces go. It's like you said, you don't want something like super hot. I'm the same way. But yeah, this one, if you want to try a dope hot sauce, try Gator Hammock. You can order it off like Amazon and stuff. It's very tasty. It's probably my favorite hot sauce.
Sorry, what's it based off of?
I can't remember, to be honest with you. I actually don't have a bottle at the house right now. I need to order one. I've been wanting to have one for a while, but I always forget about it when I'm on Amazon. I can't really. I'm not a hot sauce expert, so I don't really know how to describe it. I guarantee you would probably like it if you tried it.
I'll see if I can find it.
But as far as like normal condiments, like is there any? You know, I pretty much treat all condiments equally for the most part. I mean, I like ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise. Mm-hmm. But I think one of my favorite condiments actually is like a honey mustard. I love honey mustard.
My wife would agree with you with that.
Yeah, like I even like it with like I'll take honey mustard for some fries over ketchup sometimes.
Really?
Like I love dipping fries and honey mustard. Yeah, I love it. Chicken nuggets and some honey mustard. Yeah, you know, all that stuff's good. I love that. But as far as like sauces, like or condiments, like what do you like as far as, because there's some people out there that like cannot stand mayonnaise or cannot stand mustard. My fucking ex was like, she had a phobia for mayonnaise. Like it couldn't be near food. It couldn't be an ingredient like is used to make food. She would just freak out over it. And I never understood that kind of phobia for a condiment of all things.
That's weird. Like I love Miracle Whip, even though that people call that mayonnaise, but Miracle Whip isn't really mayonnaise. But I do love mayonnaise too.
I don't like Miracle Whip myself. Like I'm always going to go for your traditional mayonnaise over Miracle Whip. Not a big fan of that.
No, okay. I love relish. Relish is a huge thing for me. Sauerkraut. I love sauerkraut. I don't know. To me, sauerkraut's a weird like condiment, and it doesn't have to be a condiment. I don't know. It's kind of in between. It's kind of like pickles.
Yeah.
Not. I don't know. Like, are pickles condiments?
Yeah, I don't know. It gets into kind of weird. We get in a weird realm here with condiments. So it's like what constitutes a condiment? Because I just think of like the basic stuff, like I said, like mayonnaise, mustard, ketchup, and stuff like that. But you could also move into the realm of like dressings, like ranch and blue cheese and stuff like that. Those are kind of condiments in a way too. You put those on sandwiches or dip things in those. So I don't know.
Or onion and peanut butter.
No, we're not going there.
So what about ultimate sandwich?
Yeah, I'm pretty okay with just about anything for the most part. I mean, I like, one of my favorite things is like pastrami and corned beef. So that's like a good combination of meats. But yeah, I'll pretty much eat anything. I mean, roast beef, turkey, Italian sandwiches, pretty much any kind of meats, and then just throw in some, lettuce and tomato and onion, and I'm good to go for the most part. I don't really have a go-to. I mean, sometimes I'll just eat a bologna and cheese sandwich. I don't know, but when it comes to sandwiches, I'll eat pretty much almost anything on a sandwich for the most part.
Yeah, speaking of poverty food, bologna and cheese.
Yeah, that's some white trash shit right there for sure.
So my favorite sandwich, and I usually get this at restaurants that I've never been to before to kind of like gauge, to have like a kind of like a litmus test. Mine is the Reuben sandwich that has like corned beef, sauerkraut, mustard, some sort of cheese, usually like Swiss or provolone or whatever it is, and then it's on like a nice toasted bun or bread. That's like my go-to sandwich. I love that sandwich.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the Reubens. I'll eat them every now and then. I'm not a big fan of the sauerkraut. I mean, it's okay, but that kind of like throws off the whole Reuben sandwich for me. But yeah, I don't know.
Do you like cabbage rolls?
They're okay, not really.
I would eat those for the rest of my life. Just every day I would just eat cabbage rolls and just fart and shit all fucking day. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't think I would just eat a cabbage roll. So
we didn't fight over this one.
Yeah, it was a calm, collected week here where we just wanted to appreciate food instead of fighting over it.
If you had a condiment that you had to smother over your body, what would it be? Would it be the honey mustard?
I mean, at that point, it's turning sexual almost, and I don't know how I feel about that. Because, I mean, I love my honey mustard, but I don't know that I want it all over my body. I don't know. I keep, for some reason, I just keep thinking about mayonnaise, though. I just want mayonnaise all over my body.
So if there was like if there's a tub, you just sit in a tub of mayonnaise?
Yeah, and just lick it off myself, and sounds good.
I don't know how much I'd be able to take of that.
I don't know either.
I'd rather sit in Miracle Whip because it has a tangy zip. Tangy zip of Miracle Whip.
Fuck that Miracle Whip shit. Get it out of here.
What is Miracle Whip? Like, what is it made out of? What is the base of it? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I just know it's like Miracle Whip is always like a little bit sweeter to me, and that's what throws it off for me.
It has mayonnaise. It's tangy.
Yeah, that's just what throws it off. That tang or that sweetness to it.
Here, I'm looking it up. So mayo has eggs, soybean oil, vinegar, water, Miracle Whip. Miracle Whip sets itself apart with a sweet, spicy flavor that some folks prefer. First introduced during the Depression, when its cheaper price made it alluring to people who couldn't afford more highfalutin mayo. It's now caught up, costing about the same amount per ounce as the real thing. You know what? That fucking always happens. Where there's this like old-timey, wartime food, it costs just as much or more. When back in the day, like that's all they had, like meat and potato type stuff.
Yeah.
This doesn't answer my question. It says right here, Miracle Whip versus mayonnaise, and it doesn't tell me the difference. What fucking clickbait site is this?
Well, one is good and the other is shit. That's all you need to know.
Kraft paid Lady Gaga to include Miracle Whip in the music video for her song Telephone.
What the fuck?
Miracle Whip advertised stuff in Electronic Arts video game Skate 3, including a dedicated trick, contest, and an achievement called Don't Be So Mayo. In 2018, the town of Mayo, Florida, temporarily changed its name to Miracle Whip as a promotion of
What the fuck is going on with Miracle Whip?
Oh,
These people
man.
are fucking insane over there.
Oh man, changing the name of your town. Like, is there like a Ketchup, Ohio or something? You know, like
It's Honey Mustardville.